You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, good morning to Sudbury News Talk. Good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. Grateful that we have the platforms that we're on to bring you the show each and every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30, live on CKLU 96.7 FM and also streaming at cklu.ca. You just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. And it's as easy as that. And make sure while you're at cklu.ca that you take an opportunity or take the moment to click the donate button and support us in any way, shape, or form that you can. Also, buy any of the merch that you see there, which also can support us just by, buying some merch. That's why we have it there, because we are Sudbury's only campus and community radio station, and we've been around since 1984. Started off in a humble little trailer on Ramsey Lake Road in the Laurentian University campus, and now we're located at the corner of Elgin and Elm in the old Telegraph building, now part of MacEwan School of Architecture, all under the umbrella of Laurentian University. So that's a little bit of the history of CKLU, the radio station in which we are on. And in order to make sure that it's here in the future, we'll need your support. So, all right, we're also streaming live on facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow those particular channels, but mainly on the live. You can comment on Facebook and YouTube. We'll do our best to read them for those on the air. We'll do the best to get them up on the screen for those watching live and for those watching later on demand. We encourage comments because this is a conversation on your station each and every weekday morning about the social issues that we face here, the news headlines, and just unpacking the news headlines and trying to make sense of the community we live in, and also the region and the country and the world that we live in. Not easy to do. It's getting more and more complicated. And speaking of the country that we live in, a little bit of our deep dive today is why are so many people leaving the country that were born and raised here and don't see Canada as an opportunity anymore to stay and thrive for some reason. Maybe we'll come to some of the conclusions as to why that is. There's many, as far as I've been able to see, but why are so many people leaving? Now, there's so many people coming to the country as well, so it's kind of like we're getting a blood transfusion kind of thing. You know, the former is heading out and the new are coming in, and it's a really interesting time to live in. There's no doubt about that, and making sense of it, like what are the reasons for it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or not. Sometimes we don't have all the answers, and that's why we just have questions. But if you ask enough questions, sometimes you can get some answers, and that's all we do here. So we'll do some news headlines, local news headlines. We'll also have some weather, and we'll then try and look into why so many people don't find Canada a safe place to live, an affordable place to live, a place to live and thrive and raise a family and have a future. They don't see that. And a lot of people, people are moving to all different countries, but one country in particular is El Salvador. You would never think El Salvador would be a destination, but it is. And there's a new president there. He has some really interesting ideas, and maybe we'll hear some of those. I had a video ready to go, but it's changed its place where it lives. And so now, in order to I had a concise interview clips and things that summed up everything, but we might just have to go into the longer form interview with the particular president of El Salvador. So it'd be interesting to hear, compared to our leader of our country, the concepts that they and principles that they support and install in their country in order to have a thriving country. You would think, why would someone want to leave a country like Canada and move to a place like El Salvador? You would think that'd be the opposite of what would be going on, right? But it's not true. Canadians are moving down there for a reason, and we'll look into maybe some of those reasons afterwards. But let's kick the show off with a little bit of weather, and let's do this way today. We'll see how this works out. So, weather is brought to you by Duck Check, local company. So if you want to support local, and not only local, but have a good deal and something that you need in your house anyways, like, oh, there's the weather right there. Look at that. So neat how that works. So here you go. We'll be back right after the weather. All right, and currently it's 15 degrees. It's mostly cloudy out there. Today you can expect it to continue to be cloudy with a 60% chance of showers. Risk of thunderstorm this afternoon. Fog patches dissipating in the morning. And the high will be 20 and the UV index will be 5 or moderate. Tonight, cloudy with a 40% chance of showers. Risk of thunderstorm this evening and low of 11. Friday, cloudy. That's tomorrow. 60% chance of showers again with a high of 14. UV index will be 5 or moderate. Like we said earlier, it'll be 60% chance of showers tomorrow, high of 14. 40% for Saturday with a high of 14. And again, 40% chance of showers on Sunday with a high of 16. And just in time for the next work week, we'll have some sun come into the picture. And the highs will be 21, 24, and 24 for your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All mix of sun and cloud. And a look at your satellite here. Here you go. Look at that. A lot of activity everywhere. You can see that system that just passed through with a lot of that rain that we got yesterday. Now it's going Ottawa and beyond, and we have some new rain activity coming towards us just over the Great Lakes, and just a lot of clouds and precipitation activity in the satellite view here, as you can see. And that's our Sudbury weather, brought to you by Duck Check, which if you see here on the screen, if you're watching, if you're listening on the radio, Duck Check has a gift certificate that they're offering the viewers and listeners of Sudbury News Talk. Well, you'll get $100 off your Duck Check cleaning or inspection. Duck Check cleaning and inspection. They also don't just clean your ducts in your home, which is, I think, a necessity if you want to be clean, breathing clean air. It's just, something that you got to be doing as part of your plan for a healthy environment, period. But if you let them know by giving them a shout at 705-918-4848 or visiting duckcheck.com to find out how you can contact, just email them. If you let them know that you've found out about them and their service from this show, you'll get $100 off your next duct cleaning or your first duct cleaning, depending if you've already had one or not. But I'm sure once you get it, you should get into a routine for that. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and much more right after this. Stay tuned. Now, not to stick too long on Duck Check, but it is new to the show where we have them sponsoring the weather, a new partner on board. First of many partnerships with local businesses. We're looking forward to partnering to make the show sustainable and pay for some of all of the costs that we've incurred over the last 7 years of doing the show without any sponsorship, right? So we're really grateful for local business, and we naturally want to promote local business, as we know that that's a way to sustain our local economy and also sustain a local conversation at the same time. So it's win-win. And Steve, he's a good friend of mine, and we're looking to have him along with other partners that we have on the show, not just sponsoring a segment or whatever, but actually having them on the show and talking about their businesses and why you should use their particular products that they offer or service that they're offering, and just get to know them, right? So one of the best ways to know whether or not there's a company that you want to use, getting to know the owners is a really great way to know if you can, first of all, trust them, and second of all, know if they're knowledgeable about what they do, right? So looking forward to that coming up in the near future. Now, we have quite a few people joining us at the moment, and we're grateful for you guys being on. Let's see who's already commented as the comments are loading up on our device here. Good morning, Judy. Welcome to the Facebook party, first to the party. And good morning, Minik. Good morning, Sudbury, with a sunshine emoji. And Marie says good morning with a sunshine emoji as well. David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. And Belinda usually has a positive statement each and every morning. Good morning. Continue to speak out against all forms of injustice. We will set a mighty example for our children and for future generations. Hope will never be silent. That is, yes, that's 100% right. Always stand for things of integrity, I would say. I don't know. We have a lot of activism going on in our world today, and a lot of things, I don't know if they're that integral or not. There's, it's just many people are passionate about different things, and I think if you have something worth standing up for, which would be, I would think, our country, and having our country be strong economically and socially, and all of the other things, that it would be a great place to raise a family, to continue to do that. Unfortunately, we see erosion happening on all angles in our country. Talking about business, first of all, so many small businesses going out of business. And that's not just because of the pandemic and that they had a hard time with that. There's over-regulation, over-taxation. The government has their hands in the businesses' pockets and in their life too strongly to encourage innovation and new business and just sustain the businesses that are already here. It's overkill. It's not right if you want to have a thriving economy, and basically small business is the backbone of this country and has been ever since it was a country. And I don't believe the government realizes that, or they do, and it's almost like they resent you if you go out and you're industrious and you make a lot of money, and you really hire a lot of people and you're really productive. It seems like they resent it, and then they're right after you making sure of something, like making sure you're doing this or that or the other, and constantly at you, whether it's taxation or regulation. It's just not easy to run a business, start a business, first of all, in this country, and then continue and be successful at a business. As a former entrepreneur and business owner, I can say that from experience, and I do know that. I almost felt like, what are they, my natural born enemy or something? Like are they here to put me out of business? Don't they want my taxes? Don't they want the infusion of that I'm making into the economy by hiring people and solving problems in our community and working really hard? And they don't reward hard work. It's odd. It's like the reverse. You work hard, it's like you're punished for working hard. And I think it comes from this philosophy that, everyone has to be equal and nobody can, be successful. You resent people who are successful. And if you're successful, it means I'm a failure. And that's not true at all. If you're successful, I can be successful too. We can both be successful if we work hard and have resilience and put forward principles that have been tried and tested for time and all eternity, basically, and not just changing the way changing the playing field and saying, oh no, it doesn't matter if you work hard, we'll still pay you. It doesn't matter. Just stay at home. Don't work out. Don't get in shape. I mean, that means you're shaming other people who don't. You know what I mean? If you work out and you care about your body or whatever, it's shaming people who don't, and you can't have that. And everyone just needs to be happy with what they're doing, and you don't need to excel and do anything. There is this kind of pervasive ideology out there that's like that, and it's just going to lead people to a lot of depression. And we saw on yesterday's show what the government has for people that are depressed in your near future, and your children who are depressed in the near future, right? If they have their way, the MAID program is made for you, right? It's interesting. But if you're, you have a lot of self-esteem because you're a go-getter, you go out there and you have a lot of accomplishments and you're successful in things, you work hard, you're less likely to be depressed because you're busy, and you're busy doing things that you're getting achievements along the way while you're working hard. And while you have achievements, it makes you happy because it's the fruits of your labor. I learned that at a young age as an athlete. You get out there, you work hard. My particular sport at a young age was hockey, and my father was a great coach and mentor, and brought me out even before I could walk. He put me on skates, and he was going to teach me how to play hockey. And we worked really hard. We got up before kindergarten and did it was eventually 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups before going to the rink and then practicing. And then he even had me drinking raw egg, magnesium, all kinds of things as a drink. This is just, in kindergarten. And then we would go to school, and he dropped me off at school. And that was my routine before school, right? And so you can imagine, as I started playing competitively, I had an edge on most, if not all, of the players for a long time because of that routine. And, other parents, I had experiences when there was one tournament where I won the MVP for all 4 games of the tournament. And the coach's son played on the team. And he came to me after one of the games and he said, my son works really hard and he's a really good player, and he's pretty down right now that he didn't get an MVP for any of the games, and I thought he worked hard enough to deserve that. And so, would you mind giving up one of your trophies for my son? And I said, sure. Yeah, no, I get that, and he's a great guy. He's a good friend, and I like him as a teammate. And yeah, no, he deserves this MVP too. One of these, I think I got 4. And so I'm like, I got 3 anyways, what's wrong with that? Here you go. And then I get to the car after getting changed, and my dad's like, where's your trophy? I said, oh, well, I gave it to the coach's son. He said, well, why did you do that? I said, well, he said to me, my son, and I said the same thing to him that the coach said to me. And he said, oh, hold on a second. And he went in to the arena, and he came back in the car and he had the trophy. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, well, Aaron, this is your trophy. You won this. Whether you deserve it or not, the people that were in charge of making the decision thought you deserved it, and they gave it to you. Whether or not it made somebody else depressed or sad or whatever, like you won that. Like, you're the MVP. You can't change that. And so valuable lesson was learned that day. No matter, it's always in the name of compassion that, somebody's like, well, I didn't get this. And you need to, it's your moral obligation. It's your duty to not celebrate a success like that because others aren't experiencing it, but they could experience it too, possibly, if they were able to do the same things. Well, you can say, yeah, but their dads didn't take them out, or they didn't get these opportunities. And that's true. But once you say, oh, that's how you became like that. Like, how many of us look at others out there and go, wow, how did you lose 40 pounds? And they say, well, it was through this particular thing. And then you go out and do the exact same thing and get the exact same results because you found a way to get your goals from learning from someone else. So instead of, like, you can't take somebody's, weight loss off of them and put it on you. You can't just do that. Like, it takes work and time and the wherewithal to do it. You can't just, the society of everyone's equal outcome. Like, it's impossible. Like, you'll never have an equal outcome. This Marxist kind of ideology that everyone is equal. Everybody is not equal, period, right? But we're all great in our own ways, and we all have different strengths and different talents, that if you excel at your talents and your gifts that you have, that you'll be something different than someone else, and you'll be a success at whatever it is that you put your mind to and put your effort into. It might not be the success of your neighbor. Maybe their house is 10 extra square feet bigger than yours, and oh well with that. That's fine. It's okay. You can never have an equal outcome of every human being in a society. It is just not true. It's going to, and if you're trying to do that, it eventually has to be forced on people. And then you just suppress those that are motivated to do good. And when they're motivated to do good and excel at things, they contribute to society and they contribute to other people's good as well. Like you say, a business owner, for one example. You go out and you start a business and you hire other people and you make other people's lives better by doing that. But for some reason, our new ideology, progressive ideology we have, pervasive, I think it's like a mind virus myself, because it is that. It's deteriorating what it is to be human and thrive as a human being. It deteriorates that. And it makes you depressed eventually. And then we have more government programs, mental health this, mental health that. There's a reason why mental health is so huge these days, is because we're teaching that kind of thing to people. You don't need to win the race. Everyone gets a ribbon. Everyone's a winner. And you don't learn that, wait a minute, in order for me to win that race, maybe I got to train a little bit. Maybe I have to work on my diet. Maybe I have to do something different. And maybe I learned a lot of stuff. And maybe I was that successful winner of that race, and maybe that needs to be celebrated, and maybe you didn't win that race, but maybe racing isn't your thing. Maybe your thing is something else where you can accelerate at and be successful at something different than winning the race and getting that particular ribbon for that particular race, and so on and so forth. Everyone's got something they can be successful at. But if you start looking the opposite way, which I really feel this whole thing is opposite, is nobody is going to be the winner. Everyone gets the runner-up. Everyone gets the same, but then what happens with a society like that? Like, nobody's motivated. Nobody's out there doing anything constructive or innovative or trying to change the world for positive, because you might be a success if you do that, and that's not celebrated. That's frowned upon. Like you're too much of a success. You shouldn't be that. But we say that, but then we also celebrate people and we give awards out. So it's like, just recently, Paul Lefebvre got an award, right? So like we say that, but yet we still give awards to people for things, for different things. And it's very confusing as an ideology, this whole Marxist thing. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it for the last few years since I started university. And the first class that we got, they said, now we're going to talk about Marxism right off the bat. And I'm like, why you got to talk about Marxism right off the bat? Oh, because everything we teach is built upon Marxist ideology. They came right out and said that. Our university system is all built upon Marxist godless ideology. So, and it is that. It's like a religion. It's an ideology. It's a belief system, just like a religion would be. It's no different. And then it's like I looked at it as the university as the church of Marxism. because that's what it was. We all go to the altar and worship at the feet of Marxism, and they should have a statue of Karl Marx outside of all the universities, because really, that's what they worship. They worship that ideology, and they teach it to all of our young children, our young people, and then they go out into the world and they perpetuate that ideology, and that's why we have the world that we live in. And now you wonder, why does it feel like everything's backwards or upside down or inverted? Because that's what they've been taught at university. You know, good is bad, bad is good, and up is down, and down is up, and it's all opposite from reality. Let's put it that way. And we should never be surprised with the world we're living in. So Belinda says we must stay and fight our ground. Their tyranny must not be able to overtake our country. The reason they fight so hard is Canada is so rich and abundant in resources. For sure. Like, power is after power, absolute power, right? For every soul who fought in wars to ensure our freedom, here in Canada, it is our duty to pick up the gauntlet and continue to fight for our children's future. And with that, today is the anniversary of D-Day. I know Miles came on yesterday and said yesterday was the anniversary, but it is June the 6th, and today is June the 6th. Today, the Normandy landings were the landing operations associated with airborne operations. During World War II, codenamed Operation Neptune and often referred to as D-Day, it's the largest seaborne invasion in history. The operation began the liberation of France, right near the end of the war. This is what ended the war, basically. It was the beginning of the end for the opposition. And the rest of the Western Europe later was liberated and laid the foundations of the Allied victory on the Western Front. So there you go, D-Day. And so it's, if you're going to remember, we have Remembrance Day on November 11th, but this is also a day of remembrance to remember those, including my two grandfathers. They weren't involved in this particular invasion, but they were there before that. They were already there. They were in the heart of it, both shot fatally, basically. They weren't fatally shot because they didn't die, but they had potential fatal wounds, both shot in the head. This is an interesting story. Both my grandfathers, both shot in the head, went back, both shot in the stomach. They went back to the front lines, both of them. And both of them had a steel plate replacing their forehead. And what are the chances of that? And you might think, well, that's impossible. This guy's just on drugs. Not true. It is real. That's what happened. My father didn't know who his father was for years until we were able to do his DNA. And we found it was who he suspected it was, but he didn't really know for sure. Never really met him. But then studying his life after we found out who he was, the similarities are just insane. For my mother's father, they both, like I said, shot in the head, both in the front lines, both were underage, both wanted to serve their country, both lied about their age to get into the war, both shot in the head, both said they want to go back. They went back, got shot in the stomach, and both pretty much almost died. And that's an incredible story. So these types of anniversaries to do with the war and freedom itself are very near and dear to my heart, and then doing more genealogy and realizing, related to some of the founding fathers of the United States. Also, it's just something that I think it's in my DNA, speaking of DNA, to be free, first of all, to not have tyrannical governments that have Marxist ideologies, communist ideologies at their base, I remember I was chatting with Jagmeet Singh's PR person on his Facebook, and we're in a bit of a debate, and it was, I think, Remembrance Day, and they said something or other, whatever, that, they've taken prayers out of any Remembrance Day ceremonies now, right? Because it's not all inclusive. Like, not everyone believes in God, so we shouldn't have a prayer. What do you think my grandfathers, if they were alive today, or every single other person who fought in World War I, World War II, whatever other major wars that our veterans fought in, would have thought of that? Do you think they believed in God? Do you think they would have wanted a prayer as part of the ceremonies to remember their commitment and their sacrifice for the country? Did anybody consider that, what they might have thought? Who's the ceremony for? So that's what I mean. I don't like godless Marxist ideology, for one. And then when you get a leader who has that, who's going to then put in place laws and policies and things that are of that, political leaning, now it's a little bit, more close to home. That's what we fought against in the World Wars. And so when I was texting with Jagmeet Singh's public relations person, I was like, forget what we were talking about, but Jagmeet's father or grandfather fought in the war and whatever, so he knows, or he feels, because he is Marxist. They are a communist political party, the NDP, if you weren't aware of that. And it's because they might not call themselves that because it sounds too whatever to people. But if you look at what they believe in, it's all communist ideology. So he's a communist. So I said, do you think Jagmeet Singh's father fought for communism in the war? Do you think he gave his life to be a communist? And right away, no reply, zero. Right? So it just shows you the state of the country politically, and maybe why certain things are the way they are. Okay, so in my opinion, this is Belinda again, those that are fleeing the country are those same people that never stood up against tyranny of COVID lockdowns and injections. Okay, so you're looking at them as almost like draft dodgers would be looked at in the United States. They're not going to stay here and fight for the country. They're like, you know what? Who can make war with the beast? I'm out of here. I see the writing on the wall. I'm not going to go to jail just because I'm practicing just my, human-born, human right for things. I can see that I'm going to be jailed just for something I say or, something I do that's not illegal, but it's, viewed by this particular government. If I don't call somebody by a pronoun, I'm going to jail. Like, that's where we've gone, So I'm not going to face that kind of thing. I'm out of here. So, yeah, I guess you could look down on those people or say, well, I guess, it just depends what you're willing to go through, I guess, right? But look where I am. I'm still here. I'm not out of Dodge. I'm sitting here trying to, shine light on things so people are at least aware of what's going on in the country. Whatever you do, do not watch this. Thanks, Trevor, for that. That's what you say to get someone to watch it, for sure. Trust the science. So thanks for sharing the link. And we always have interesting links that the viewers and listeners here share with other viewers and listeners. So I would encourage everybody to watch that. You'll always see and learn something you didn't know before. Pat, good morning to you. Smiley emoji. Much appreciated the positivity. Denise, morning from Espanola. Brian, good morning, Patriots. The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. That's Plato. So the price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. Well, it seems like we're all on the same theme today, even though a lot of these comments were made before we started the conversation. Well, this is truth. This is Denise. The chief and council have had hatred towards a certain family because we were the ones who had a vision for this building. We were the ones who made sure. So it looks like a specific thing going on here. So if you want to read that, I don't know. These are names, people, things that happened personally to you. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in that to check that out. It's not that I don't want to give, it's just that I'm not aware of that particular thing that you went through with the names of specific names and things. I'm just a little reluctant to go down that and get too specific with personal names and stuff like that on a public show. So you can appreciate where I'm coming from there. I recently had a statistic that Sudbury is related as one of the most difficult places to do business. Yes, no, it is. It has been for a long time. I worked for the Canadian Federation of Independent Business as the district manager for a period of time, and that was a true statistic. Sudbury is known to be one of the hardest places to do business in. We're in one of the hardest countries to do business in the world, and then one of the hardest provinces in one of the hardest countries, and then we're in the hardest city in one of the hardest provinces in one of the hardest countries to do business in the world. So try starting a business here. If you look at that as a as a dare, you can start a business here. If you can make it work here, you can make it work anywhere. Denise also says, citizens, what you're witnessing is the will of the people. No fight, then we will get what we deserve. A parent program, credit scores, and consequences. It's sad. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening here. Trends are moving in on the disabled people, like the kids. So you have the a movement that's been hijacked for. It started out as just gay rights, right? And this is Pride Month that we're in now, and we see a lot of publicity and PR work for that. But it's a hijacked movement at this point. It's been weaponized, politicized, and nefarious people are at the helm of it. We're all for rights of any person on the earth. There's no separate cause that we support or sustain. Basic human rights for all. Period. Right? Then we start dividing people into sections. Oh, you're this, you're that, you're the other, and it's identity politics, and it's just used for politics, and I'll have none of it. Basically, we're all equal. We're all made equal. We don't all do the same things and have the same successes. We don't all deserve just the same pay and things like that. We all can achieve whatever we want. If I want to earn $70,000 a year, I should be able to do that. If I want to earn $1 million a year, I should be able to do it. If I just want to stay home and not make any money, I should be able to do that. But you basically, I'm all for choice. Whatever you choose to do it, as long as it's not going to infringe on somebody else's rights. Then, there's laws for that, right? And I agree with pretty much, the legal system. Maybe not the way it's rolled out. Not justice isn't always served because there's ways to manipulate the system. But the system itself, if you look at it, if you read laws and you read, you're like, hey, I can get behind that. I really do. I think we set up some really good laws over the years here in this country and in the Western world in general, all based on Judeo-Christian values, by the way, which are now being thrown out and a new ideology being replaced in our society, right? So we'll see where that's going to take us. So Belinda says that father set no example for his son. Oh yeah, taking away an award from his teammate to give it to him. And that's the problem with a lot of humanity. Entitlement, not earned. Correct. I learned that later. My father was a great teacher in that way, so he taught me that lesson as well. Striving for success without hard work. It's like trying to harvest where you haven't planted. Exactly. Like life will teach you that in general, unless someone gets in the way and changes the rules of the game, right? And makes it an artificial world, but if you're out in the wild will teach you, like the earth itself will teach you reality. Like I can identify as a warm person at home in bed all I want. If I'm naked outside in a snowstorm, I'm going to die of hypothermia. It doesn't matter what lives in my head. Reality is another thing, right? You can pretend you're anything you want, but in reality, that's just not the case. So if I think I identify as a very well-educated farmer who understands growing, but I'm not going to have a big harvest at the end of the year in my garden. It doesn't matter how much I identify with that, and I think I'm the greatest gardener in the world. The garden will tell me whether I'm the greatest gardener in the world or not by the end of the season. So it will just be the case, if I am really an informed gardener, then I will have a lot of vegetables and maybe fruit by the end of the year. I don't need to go around telling people I'm the greatest. I don't need to do nothing. I just have the best yield of my garden. No matter what I identify with in my mind, the results are what they are. Then I would be a good gardener if I was able to have a good yield. And if I didn't, and you never know, there might be some other thing. Maybe there was really horrible weather one year, and or some pests, locusts came in and ate everything. Okay, there's those situations as well. But other than that, it doesn't matter what you identify as. Reality is a whole other thing altogether. And the way we've been viewing this as a society has been totally upside down and backwards. It just is, right? I mean, if you just have a normal debate, and anybody who's hearing this and wants to come on the show, you're more than welcome to come on. And if you think what I'm saying is anything other than true, I welcome you. You can email me at sudburynews@gmail.com, and we can have a conversation that says, no, in reality, if you identify with anything, that means you are that thing. It really are. If you believe it, you are that. Then you come on the show and we'll have that, open conversation publicly, and we'll see where that goes, right? So you're welcome. And I welcome everybody to come on the show. This isn't just a one-sided conversation by any means. Sure, I have my own opinions, and you have yours too, and they're more than welcome. We have comments. People come on the show all the time. They comment. This is an open forum. You're able to share your comments, right? So, good day, folks. That's Monique. Thanks for joining us. Denise says, good morning, everyone. All have a wonderful day. Stay safe and healthy. Like and share. For sure. Thanks, Denise, for that. Brian, who is a veteran, and it is the anniversary of D-Day today, and so I would think that you would have an interest in today as an anniversary. In every competition, there is a winner and a loser. So if you look at a war, for example, right, that's a pretty good example of that. Like we even have in our country too, like certain wars that have been fought over time. Do you think anyone lives in any country in the world that wasn't the result? They're living there now as the result of being victorious in a war of some kind. Wars have been going on since man has been around. And so nobody is living, where they originally were. Nobody. Sure, they might have been there for a longer time or a long time, but nobody is where we've all kind of migrated around throughout the course of our existence. We're all somewhere where we weren't originally. And we got there most times through war. We went to another country and went, no, I'm living here now, and you're gone. And sometimes they were totally erased and wiped right out. And sometimes there was a mixture of things. Maybe they left some of the people and they assimilated into their society. But either way, nobody has been living on the land that they're on forever. They got there at some point. And it was usually, sure, some people go to a land when there was no one there before. But what if there were people there when someone migrated? There was already someone living there. You're like, I walked 40 million miles. I walked 4 million miles to get here. And you're saying, this is my land, get out? Well, maybe I walked so long. I'm like, no, I want this land now. I didn't walk all this way for nothing. So common sense, there's no common sense in our ideologies that we have in terms of how we look at our world and our country, things like that. It's really backwards. We really do need more conversation on where we live, why we live here, how we got here, what real history actually is. Good morning, Vin. Thanks for being on. Wow, today's just been a long conversation. Look at that. Crazy stuff. Okay. They liberated Holland as well. Yes, for sure. And here's Miles. The actual operation started June 5th. Okay, I got it. So even though Wikipedia, which you shouldn't always take as doctrine, as gospel doctrine, they started on June 5th when they landed the ships to go to England. And your father was one of them. Oh, wow. That's really cool. So I guess it started June the 5th. And but it also just didn't take one day, I guess. I'm prepared to lose the whole group. Colonel Donald Blakesley commanded the 4th Fighter Group, 8th Air Force briefing. P-51 Mustang pilots. Thanks, Brian, for that. Our flag flies not because the wind moves it. It flies because the brave men and women that gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect it. This is awesome, you guys. Really appreciate all of these comments today. And good morning, Shirley. Thanks for being on from Capriol, and Claire as well. Good morning to you. Just going through to get some people that are jumping on here a little bit later. And so many great comments. But I just wanted to shed a little light here this morning on the fact that so many people are leaving Canada. And what the heck is the reason for this? And just to start us off, one of them, Pierre Poilievre talks about here. He kind of sums everything up in Parliament and session. So we'll check in with him. Like, what the heck? Sure, we fought for the country we thought we were building or whatever, but it's changing so rapidly from within. We don't need a war. We don't need another country to come over and take us over to change things. We can do that ourselves, right? And now people are going, holy, I can't live here anymore. This is unlivable. So we'll have Pierre Poilievre kind of give us a little bit on that.
And they even publish the propaganda that is regurgitated by Canadian press. They just literally cut and paste the stuff that PMO feeds the Canadian press to write. Mr. Speaker, they can no longer gaslight Canadians on these facts, because let me look at an article from even the CBC had to admit it today. Quote, emigration from Canada to the U.S. hits a 10-year high as tens of thousands head south. Census data says 126,340 people left Canada for the U.S. in 2022, a 70% increase over a decade. A 70% increase in the number of people leaving Canada for the U.S. Quote, one group called Canadians Moving to Florida and USA has more than 55,000 members and is adding dozens of members every single week. Marco Terminesi, former professional soccer player who grew up in Woodbridge, Ontario, and now works as a real estate agent in Florida's Palm Beach County with a busy practice that caters to Canadian expats. Quote, I hate the politics here being Canada. Terminesi said that his phone has been ringing off the hook for the last 18 months with calls from Canadians wanting to move to sunny Florida. With the Prime Minister, quote, with the Prime Minister, I have to get out of here. That's what people tell me. They say to me, Marco, who do I have to talk to get out of here? There's a lot of hatred, a lot of pissed off calls. I'm quoting. It's really shocking for me to hear all this. And I'm not sure all these people are moving for the right reason. People are saying, I hate the politics. I'm uprooting my whole family and moving down. And I say, well, that problem could be solved in a year or two.
Incredible.
God willing, Mr. Speaker. I think a lot of people are hoping that common sense conservatives will come in to solve the problem he has caused.
Hear, hear.
I think it's clear. Because let's be blunt about this. Let's be very blunt about this. If I am not Prime Minister in the next 2 years, there will be a large sucking sound of Canadian businesses, entrepreneurs, workers leaving this country to go anywhere on planet Earth and escape the doubling housing costs, the quadrupling carbon tax, and the devastating economic policies that are pricing the people out of their own country, Mr. Speaker. That is the reality. It is happening already. Canadians are fleeing the doubling housing costs that this Prime Minister has caused by printing cash to inflate costs, by funding bureaucracy that blocks home building. They're leaving the country to avoid the massive tax increases that have shut down businesses and pushed, according to one Liberal former governor of the central bank, $800 billion of Canadian investment, more abroad than has come home. And with all the suffering and misery, the 256 homeless encampments that have popped up in Toronto, the 35 homeless encampments in Winnipeg, the 2 million people lined up in food banks, the 1 in 4 Canadians skipping meals because they can't afford the price to eat, the 76% of young people who say they will never own a home. For God's sakes, can they not at least enjoy a vacation, a merciful vacation from these taxes? That's why common sense conservatives not only want to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime when we form government, but in the meantime, we're at.
So he's going to do more of a plug, to be elected, and that's fine. I just wanted to get what he sums up as to the reasons why people are leaving the country mainly, and we did that, and so talks about taxes like. Don't you think you're taxed enough? No, we're not taxed enough. We need more taxes, right? And I don't know if you knew about this particular tax that's coming out right around the corner, but we'll have the dudes from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation fill you in on it.
Breaking news, the Trudeau government just brought in a streaming tax. Yep, you heard that right. It's going to impact you every time you want to listen to Spotify or check out Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney Plus. So what's that going to mean? It's going to make it more expensive to listen to your favorite music or to watch your favorite movies and TV shows. Let's just talk about the insanity of this ahead of summer and put it into the broader context, okay? So the federal government doesn't want you to take a road trip with your family, so they hammer you with carbon taxes and fuel taxes. So you sit alone at home to watch some Netflix. Oh, too bad. Higher taxes there too. Now all these taxes may drive you to drink, so you may want to go out to the patio and grab a beer. Oh, more bad news. The feds also just raised alcohol taxes. So is there anything fun we're still allowed to do during the summer in Canada? Well, if you're like me and you're just sick and tired of the federal government continuing to reach for your wallet and you're sick and tired of all these tax hikes, head over to taxpayer.com and sign the brand new petition, No Streaming Tax.
There you go. So you can do something about it by signing a petition at least, like it's at least something. I mean, what do we do in this case with the state of the country that we're in, and who's running it? What do they believe? What's their end goal? Like, what are they trying to achieve? We can kind of see where we're going now with the, more people's been at food banks than ever before. There's more investigations that's ever been in any government at this level than there's ever been. There's now confirmation of foreign interference where there's actually chargeable tyrannical behavior by one of the MPs. We're offering medical assistance in dying. Homelessness is rampant. We're making drugs legal everywhere. It's like what we're celebrating this month is the most important thing this government thinks that there is out there. It's just insane, going just further into La La Land. And no wonder I would be on a list to leave. I know we had Pierre Bonhomme, who was on the show quite a bit. He's now living in El Salvador, and I was going to share a bit of the interview. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that tomorrow with the leader down there. He just got in, and he's basically he's cleaned up things. It used to be a huge drug cartel in his country. It used to be, a terrible place to be. You would think, who the heck would want to live in El Salvador? But cleaned things up. He said in his inaugural speech that he's basically turning to God for answers. He wants to hear, what God wants to have happen in his country, and he feels he doesn't have all the answers, but God would. And I, a lot of people would say, well, that's going to be some kind of wacko guy just on oh, God told me to do this, and some weird policy's going to come out. But what do we have here in our country? Like, just take God out. You don't need something to give you an excuse to make wacky policies and things that just don't make sense to everyday ordinary people at all, someone who's really far removed from everyday life of Canadians. So you don't need to say, oh, God told me this or God told me that to be off. And you see where this particular politician is coming from. So I would encourage anyone to look up El Salvador and see what's going on down there. It's really interesting. why Canadians would leave Canada to go to El Salvador, I just thought, that's crazy. But the more you look into it, it makes a lot of sense. And it's unfortunate, like why we can't just thrive and stay in our own country, and we kind of feel pushed out because of all of these things. Anyways, it's all the time we got for the show today. I apologize. We really weren't able to get to local headlines. It's my fault, so I'll take full responsibility for that. But thanks for your comments today, and thanks for sticking with us. We really appreciate you. We'll be back, God willing, same time, same place tomorrow on the same platforms. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.